Just last year, 700 international students, their admissions were fake.
No.
People don't even know they are a licensed consultant. If it sounds too good to be true, then question it. So my agent told me once I spend 650 days in Canada, I'm automatically eligible for PR. I'm like, even if you spend 10 years in this country,
that's not how it
is. That's not how it works. PR is not souvenir that you go to one go and there and they hand When I started the journey, I had like 15,000 naira.
What gave you the confidence? I'm sorry.
Very good question.
This is Young and Abroad. Let's go.
Hello, I'm very excited to welcome you to the very first episode of Young and Abroad, the podcast. I'm your host, Eniola. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the big I, immigration. If you're listening to this podcast, it is very likely that you have either considered relocating to a new country, or you've relocated, or you're in the process of relocating. So with me, I have a very special guest here. If you're watching the video version of this, you can already see who our guest is. But yeah, I'm going to do a brief intro. He is literally a legend when it comes to all things immigration.
Okay.
He has helped. Yes, he has helped thousands of people in various countries through their immigration journey successfully. So yes, today we have the honorable, admirable, formidable Olu, popularly known as Olu of Canada.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Olu. Some of you call me Olu of Canada. On social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. I like talking about coming to Canada and doing things right. And very, very glad to be on the podcast with Eniola today. It's going to be insightful, so make sure you watch everything. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to have you launching this podcast. Honestly, when I was, putting together my list of possible guests, you were one of the very first people that came to mind. And I was just like, I have to bring you on, because you're not just knowledgeable about immigration. Every single conversation we have, I leave feeling inspired. I leave feeling encouraged. I leave learning something new. So I'm like, my subscribers have to, enjoy this as well. So that's why we have you here today. So Olu specializes in public policy and economic development, while also supporting newcomers and marginalized people within Canada. And he's been doing this across his social media platforms where he has almost 500,000, people within his community. Thank you once again for coming.
I feel like it's hard, 500,000 people. That's more than the population of some cities in Canada. And it's so amazing now.
Yeah.
Things can grow so exponentially. And when we started out, we never thought things would get to speed. So thank you so much to everyone for putting us out there. Shout out to members of our community for all the incredible and amazing work you do.
So tell us, who was Olu before Olu of Canada? So give us, a background about yourself and, just paint a picture for us.
It's a very good question. And that gets me thinking a lot when people ask that. Who was Olu before Olu of Canada? I grew up in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in a city called Ibadan. So a lot of people would know Lagos in Nigeria. But Ibadan is just about maybe an hour, 30 minutes or thereabout from Lagos. Grew up in a Christian family. I grew up as a Baptist boy. We used to do all those, royal ambassador and all those things.
Yes, I was
back home. And girls auxiliary did the GA. And I miss those things very, very much. But before I came to Canada, I'd already done my bachelor's degree. I did my first degree in Nigeria at Obafemi Awolowo University, Great Ife. And nice. Growing up was fun. I grew up in a very, very close-knitted family, very, very close to my siblings and my parents and all that. And at that point, I never even thought I was going to leave home for long and all that.
Really?
But when I came to Canada, and backstory a little bit, I didn't even tell my parents when I was applying to come to Canada.
Wow.
I wanted to surprise them.
Okay. I'm sure they were very surprised.
They were very, very surprised. I think I'd gotten my visa. It was just about 2 weeks before I was going to move here that I told them. So I'd done everything myself, looked for admission, got into the University of Saskatchewan, got a scholarship, got my visa and those things. When I look back at, those years now, that was about 9 years ago. I'm like,
oh wow, okay.
Spent 9 years.
So you're very much Canadian.
And it was so surprising. But I think for me then it was one, a journey of faith. It was two, being curious about what the other side of the world has to offer. Didn't know anybody that was a family member in Canada when I moved here. I think I had just 2 friends. One was in Newfoundland, one was in Ontario, and I went to Saskatchewan. I did not even know how to pronounce Saskatchewan before I got to Canada, right? But I was listening to a radio station one day, back home in Ibadan. I graduated, did my first degree. I was also already working back then. And then they were talking about, some places in Canada where they need people and all that, all those agents back home. Now that I know better, I know that there's a difference between agents and like licensed consultants, and we'll probably get into that in details. And now I know that even immigration in Canada is regulated, but these are most likely unregulated immigration consultants. But they were saying, oh, Canada is looking for people, they're looking for people to work in Manitoba and Saskatchewan and all that. Back then, I never thought it was even possible to come hire somebody from another country to come and work in Canada. So I told myself, this is probably not true. Or if it's true, I'm probably not eligible to get a job in Canada and come directly to work. But then it came to my mind that in these places that they're looking for people to work, they probably also have like post-secondary institutions. People can go to school, and I wanted to do my master's abroad then. So went online, looked up this Saskatchewan and Manitoba and the likes, started looking for schools, and that was how I got to know about the University of Saskatchewan, read the requirements, started putting things together. It was more like trial and error back then. There was no one to guide us and all that. But it speaks to the possibilities, the endless possibilities that we can conceive in our minds, and if we're able to put in the work, that we can also achieve as well. 100%. So growing up for me was fun. I had I grew up in a very, very close community as well. I had friends from primary school. We all went to the same secondary school. We're living in the same neighborhood. We used to play soccer, during holidays and all those kind of things. And I think that sense of community has stayed with me for long, and it's influenced some of the things we also do for people and bringing people together in a community right now as well.
Through your platform. Thank you so much. You've actually answered, some follow-up questions I was gonna ask, like why, like what made you decide to move to Canada. So it seems like it was kind of just like let's see.
So for me, it was pretty much education. I just wanted to get a master's degree. When I heard about those provinces back then, I was like, okay, maybe these places will give me the opportunity to also get a master's degree. And even before I applied, I think I got to know about Saskatchewan around January 2014, and I did not apply until like December 2014. So it wasn't just a spontaneous decision.
Fair enough.
I took my time to find as much as possible information. Thought about so many things. I did not want to tell my parents because they've invested a lot and they've tried for me, and I just wanted to be an adult. Now I can still think and say maybe I can go back home and be eating free food and all that.
Honestly.
but back then I just, when you just wanted to do things by yourself and explore and just be somebody of your own and all that. And I'm grateful to God that, things worked out fine. Didn't only get the admission, I also got a full scholarship from the University of Saskatchewan, and that made like the financial part of it easy. Because I always tell people, moving abroad, going abroad to study is going to cost you money. If you are not paying the money directly yourself as a student, somebody else is paying it. Either your parents, it's expensive. It's a lot of money, and for people that are probably back home in countries like Nigeria right now. If you also factor in the exchange rate right now, it becomes,
It's wild.
much more. So shout out to all parents, Nigerian parents in particular,
Shout out mom and
African
dad.
parents, people, using local currency to fund their children or, support their relatives, husbands, wives. We've seen a lot of that in our communities, brothers, sisters, in-laws, just about anyone supporting a student to study abroad right now. I know it's a lot of work, and, I just pray that the reward is out there, and those students you're supporting continue to make you proud of.
Amen to that. You mentioned that you got a full scholarship, to study in your master's, and that's amazing. I don't know too many people that have had that opportunity. So could you tell us how you were able to get that scholarship, and any tips that you have for people that are looking to get scholarships to study abroad?
Awesome, man. I mean, in Canada in particular, I always tell people, and you can also find this in the news, millions of scholarship dollars go unclaimed every year. So either people are not applying, or they don't know the requirements, or they just don't believe they can get it and all that. But it was one of the things that I put into consideration when I was making the decision to come here to study. I knew money was a big part of it, and, again, didn't want to burden my parents back then. So it was one of the things I was looking out for. One thing I found in common for a lot of students who want to do like their graduate level study in Canada is that if you are considering and you're interested in getting, very, very huge funds, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarship. Number one, prepare to do a research-based program. The reason why they are funding you is because of the research you're coming to.
True. I actually, when I was trying to come for masters as well, I saw that a lot of programs that had, scholarships had to do with research, had to do with, public policy, government development, things like that.
Because they know you'll be contributing to the body of knowledge through the research you're coming here to do. So essentially, that's what they're funding you for. Number two is also, learning to strategically position yourself for those opportunities.
Okay.
There are some categories of universities in Canada that we call the U15 university, U15.
Okay.
So if you go on Google and just do a search of U15 universities in Canada, you see a list of these schools. There are schools like the University of Saskatchewan that I went to, University of Toronto, universities that are essentially very, very dedicated to research in Canada.
Okay.
They get a lot of grants, even from alumni and, the government. In addition to that, each of these universities also have what we call their signature areas of research. This information are available online. You can just go on Google and say signature areas of research at the University of Alberta. You see those areas that dedicate research and funding dollars to almost every year.
Okay.
So part of the things you need to do, like I mentioned, you want to do research. So you want to come up with a research area that is innovative, that is unique, that, there are gaps in knowledge that your research can address, and that will be appealing to faculty members.
Okay, so just to understand, you're the one pitching the research idea to the school?
Yes. So you write a research proposal as part of your application document.
Okay.
So generally, if you want to come for a master's, they look at things like your grade, and they look at your statement of purpose. Some will call it letter of motivation. They look at your resume and all that. And if you're doing the research-based program, they look at your proposed research.
Okay.
In some schools, they may also expect you to find a supervisor yourself before you
apply.
Yeah, and you find the information of these faculty members on the university website. So those information are there. So you just reach out, you pitch yourself to them, this is what I'm interested in.
Did you have to do that?
I had to do that, and I got a supervisor back then. I actually applied to 2 schools in Canada, Memorial University in Newfoundland and the University of Saskatchewan. And I got faculty members who were interested in supervising the research I was proposing at both universities. But University of Saskatchewan was offering more money, so I followed the money.
Love it. Also, you actually got a scholarship from both schools.
Yes.
Wow.
I think also the relationship that I was able to establish with the person happened to be my supervisor at University of Saskatchewan was also very interested. I did the research on something that Indigenous people experience in Canada, and my supervisor was also an Indigenous person himself. So it made that easier. Also get your documents ahead of time, your transcripts I went to a public university in Nigeria, and sometimes it's very, very difficult, like getting those transcripts from those institutions. So if you are thinking of like applying next year, I tell people give yourself like 6 to 8 months of preparation.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that to get your documents and, start putting things together and start reaching out as well. But also one thing to add is that most of these research-based programs, in terms of tuition, their tuition is also lower compared to like professional programs or course-based programs. So the reason why their tuition, when I went to University of Saskatchewan, my yearly tuition was about $5,000 an entire year. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It was that cheap.
It was
oh my God.
Even right now, if you still look at the university website, I think it's just about $10,000 now.
Wow.
Each year.
And how long was the program for?
It was a 2-year program.
Oh, 2 years.
So 2 academic years, which is 16 calendar months. And with that, you can also get like a 3-year postgraduate work permit in Canada. So start ahead of time, give yourself the gap. I always tell people the way Canadian immigration works, it's not like many other countries. So it's not you wake up on Friday and I want to be in Canada by Monday. I'm sorry.
No, it won't work.
Likely won't work, because even in terms of like the visa application, for those applying from like Nigeria, for instance, you don't do interviews, right?
Yeah.
You only have a place where you do your biometric and go submit your passport. So it takes a couple of months. So think of the time it would take you to like establish relationship with faculty members, get a supervisor, apply to schools, beat the deadline, get an admission, start with visa application, wait for the visa to come out and be approved. That's going to take you, give and take like 6 months or thereabouts. So, and then you also need to prepare your arrival in Canada as well. So give yourself some time, start early enough. If you're looking at like September 4th term is the popular resumption time for a lot of international students. And in this research-based program, if you're resuming next year, September, they start accepting applications for admissions this year, September.
A whole year.
Yeah, a whole year in advance. So they will probably close that by like January or February of the year. You should start the program. And then they'll make a decision by like March, April. And then you have between the April and August to do your visa. So it's something you need to prepare and plan ahead.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. So now we're going to go a bit deeper. What's up, guys? I really hope you're enjoying this episode. If you are, please take a second to click the subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a review and also follow the Young and Abroad podcast page. Thank you. Challenges and scams to avoid when you are going through your immigration journey, because I know a lot of people have been burnt just trying to move to a new country. Now, our conversation is going to be focused majorly on Canada, but if you're not sure if you want to move to Canada or you're considering other countries, a lot of what we're going to be discussing would likely be transferable. So I would say still listen in, because there will be so much to learn. And just wondering, off the top of your head, what are the common, mistakes and scams that people need to be careful of? I mean, you've kind of touched on that already with regards to, the fake visas, fake admission letters. Like, people are literally being ripped off their hard-earned money. So how can people avoid this, and any common challenges that, come along with the immigration process as well?
I think the number one thing to say is get informed. Even if you're using someone for your application, you can join communities like ours. It's free. You see the trends and the changes yourself, so that when somebody is lying to you,
something is off.
Something fishy is going on. You understand? Also put in mind that immigration in Canada, like I mentioned earlier, is regulated. Either you're doing your applications yourself, or if you have to pay somebody to do the visa for you, make sure they are licensed consultants. How do you know if somebody is licensed? It's how to check is on the Government of Canada website.
Okay.
Ask the person for their license number, go online, plug it in, you see their details, if they are licensed or not. You understand? Licensed individuals in Canada are, lawyers in good standing, licensed immigration consultants, paralegals. Those are the people that the Canadian law has permitted to charge you fees to help you do this application. If it sounds too good to be true, then question it. Yes. You understand? Part of the things I tell people is that nobody, no third party can guarantee you a visa in Canada. Why? They are not the visa officer that will make the decision. Even your licensed consultant cannot say, just give me 1 million, I guarantee. There's nothing like that. You understand?
Yes.
So when people are making bogus, promises to you, question it. Yeah. Ask other people that have been there and done that. Go on our own Telegram group and put it there and say, this person said I should pay this and my visa is guaranteed. You will get responses from people. You understand? So that's one of the biggest one to avoid scams. Even when you're using the licensed consultant, be involved in the application process. Know the documents they're submitting on your behalf, because at the end of the day, it's your cross to carry.
And you can still have access to the online application.
Online application portal. Get your application login details. Know what's going on with your application. So that's the biggest one. The second one, which would be like a mistake, is applying under the appropriate visa category.
Yes.
You know that your decision to come to Canada is to work or study and things like that. Don't let anybody deceive you into saying, when you get the visitor visa, don't worry. I've had so many, very surprising ones. People will say, oh, my agent told me once I spend 650 days in Canada, I'm automatically eligible for PR. I'm like, even if you spend 10 years in this country,
that's not how
it's not how it works. PR is not souvenir that you go to one and there and they hand or you go to a dollar store and pick your own from the eye. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So when people are making bogus promises, question go again, canada.ca/immigration. That's the authoritative website for some of this information.
Okay.
Go on my own personal website, www.olufemiloye.ca. We have posted on more than 50 different pathways to Canada. We've summarized and broken down the pathways, the requirements, so that when somebody is they are giving you promises and you're like, this doesn't look like.
You're able to easily spot. I feel like a major thing is people just need to just put in that extra effort and be intentional, like you said, about doing research, talking to people, being a part of communities like the one that Olu has. And you'll be less likely to fall prey for these scams and thank you very much. I would start by asking, what made you decide to, I guess, go into the immigration space? Because we don't see too many people really focusing on this, and you've grown a huge community, like we said earlier, just focused on providing support through immigration and support to newcomers in Canada. So what inspired that?
And just to add to that, our community is strictly doing it yourself. We don't do immigration applications for people. We just put the information out there. And that's one of the reasons why we started the community. Well, when I was speaking earlier, I told you I had to sit down on Google and do things myself and find those information. When I was coming to Canada 9 years ago, there was no Olu of Canada simplifying information online for people. You had to. I did not even know I was meant to go for a biometric. Yeah, that was how unaware I was. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't even know where to start from. Don't worry, you figure it out. As long as the desire is there to learn and put in the work, you figure it out. It was after I submitted my application that they sent me confirmation and say, oh, you have to go for biometric. I don't understand. So I didn't even know where to go for biometric and all that. And that was why we started to kind of close that information gap. A lot of people out there back home, when they see that you've moved to a new country, they have questions for you.
I'm a living testimony.
We have questions for you.
I still got questions last week. Sorry to cut you short, but I still got questions like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I don't remember. It's been 5 years since I moved. So that's a major reason why I'm actually having this episode as the first one, just because people still have so many questions. And
so.
And
that's understandable because, a lot of people are interested in this thing. And, I always tell people there's something that is much more difficult than not being able to come to Canada. It's coming to Canada the wrong way. You understand? If you go to a country and, you are misled and you think, this is how things will work, and you get here and you're seeing the reality and you're like, the math is not mathing.
That's very interesting.
And one of the ways that starts is people coming into the country on the wrong category of visa. Let's say visitors visa, for instance. You just paid an agent back home and they said, well, I'm going to get you a visa, and then they get you something and you just see Canada visa. You go to the airport, you bought your flight, welcome to Canada. And then you get here and
property in Nigeria.
And you sold your properties, And then you get here to find out it's just a visa. I can't work. I don't have social insurance. I don't have medical insurance.
Does that actually happen?
It happens a lot, and you will be surprised.
Wow.
You will be surprised. We've seen a lot. Even just this week, on the work visa package and all that, just this week, 2 people, one this morning, one a couple of days ago, that, reached out to us in our community and like, oh yeah, this is even fake visa. This is a fake job offer. I can show you.
Oh my
this
God.
is a fake visa. And people lose a lot of money through those ways. And those are the things, those are the gap in knowledge that were inspired to kind of like close, let people know more. Imagine already selling your property and thinking, I've heard in the past that, somebody even bought tickets, got to the airport, they sold property, they said bye to their family members, and then they got to the airport and found out it's a fake visa. You can't even fly. You understand? So a lot of things happen, and that's why I told myself when I was coming to Canada that if I was able to get my visa and I get into this country, I will try my best to simplify the information and make it available to
That's
people.
amazing.
If you go on my page, on our website, on our Telegram group, we have a Telegram support group of almost 80,000 people. We don't do anything than put information. People go there and, discuss with each other and brainstorm and say, I'm doing this. They see somebody that is doing the same. You meet people that are going to the same school and the same city. You form friendship. They come together, they rent houses. I make a joke with people in our team that if I go to any city in Canada and within the first few hours, nobody recognizes me, I'll ask myself, am I still in Canada? We have like thousands of people all across different cities in the country that have met each other and, they've been able to use the information we've put out there. So that was when we started, just putting the information out there, enlightening people, making them know what is possible from what is not possible, learning from our own experiences as well. There are certain things I wished I knew before I came to Canada. Part of the things I never thought of, the enthusiasm and the euphoria and the joy of like moving to a new country. I never even thought of when I finish this master, what will I do with this master? I wasn't thinking of my career. You understand? I was just like, okay, let's just go there. And I wasn't thinking of permanent residence. I wasn't thinking of like becoming a Canadian citizen. And I was still able, to the glory of God, to transition directly from my study visa to my PR before the 2-year study visa that brought me to Canada expired. Because when I got here, I got to like know that there's so many things I don't know. Like, I need to like move with people, be strategic about the things I'm doing, the choices I'm making, which has led me to some of the things I tell people all the time, that the first set of people you meet when you move to a new country, they have, a high likelihood of influence on whatever you become in that
100%.
You meet people that, mislead you and all that. Back home they used to say, remember the child of who and then you get there and you forget the child of who you are, and then you just mix with the wrong crowd. I would seen a lot of that. International students getting into trouble with the law, people going to jail, people forgetting that they need to renew their visas, people overstaying their, so many things happening out there. People don't even know they are a licensed consultant. We call them SOJ in our community. One SOJ, don't worry.
SOJ?
SOJ is like agents, fake agents, very.
I didn't know that.
That's the nickname we've given them.
Wow.
Just bring 5 million naira, I'll get to it. We've seen instances where people were given fake admission letter. It happened in Canada just last year. 700 international students placed on deportation. We don't know how they were able to get. These things are in the news. People can check them out. They got into Canada before they found out that the admissions were fake. They even still moved to other schools and got normal admission. But in law, they say you can't build something on nothing. You came into the country with a fake admission, even though you've tried to get a new admission and
a new school.
You've completed. Some of them have completed. It was when they were applying for postgraduate work permits that they found out. Some, it was when they were applying for permanent residence.
No.
So it's a lot of things.
You mentioned something interesting as well, because typically the route is when people come on study permits, which is what I came on, then they transition to the work permit, and then get the PR, the permanent residency.
You don't necessarily need to wait until you've completed your program of study in Canada before applying for PR.
For PR.
Except to get a scholarship or something, or you're sponsored by your home country that requires you to go back home immediately after you study. If that's not the case, you can apply for PR even while still an international student. And that was what I did in my own time.
That is amazing. Okay, so my next question is, what are the different ways a person can relocate to Canada, and what is the, best routes that you would recommend? I personally get this question a lot. And I'm just like, I only know the route I came. I came on study permit, but what would you advise someone that's looking to move to Canada from a different country?
I'm going to start with the second question on the best routes. In all honesty, it's subjective. The best route for person A is different from the best route
I believe so too.
Yeah. And that's one thing a lot of people. Two questions we get a lot of time. What's the best route or the fastest and cheapest route to come to Canada? Or what are my chances? Honestly, I can't tell you your chances. The way to know your chances are, look at what you have. Look at the requirements for the program you're applying to. If you meet the requirements, then you know your chances are bright, right? You have previous work experience. You understand? How many years of experience do you have? In what area is the experience? Is it an in-demand area? If you look at the express entry, for instance, there's the general express entry. There's also categories.
Yes.
Right? There's STEM, there's healthcare, there's trade. Those ones have lower cutoff. The general for everyone, cutoff is high right now. You understand? Do you speak a second language in French? Then you may be under the French categories as well. And Canada is a bilingual country.
Yes.
English and French are official languages. And, there's a dedication to like bringing foreign nationals preference for like French speakers and all that. So you start looking at things like that. You want to get a scholarship or go do a master's degree. What's the grade in your first degree? Because also these schools will look at like for admission requirements, their grade requirements. For some of those research-based programs, they may also ask you to demonstrate evidence of research productivity or research experience. You have publication, things like that. But some of the things you need to put in mind when you're making those decisions are things like your age, your level of education. We call them like the 6 selection factors.
Okay.
So 6 selection factors are age, education, work experience, sometimes language tests. Not all pathways to Canada require you to write a language test. If you're coming to study, for instance, I didn't need to write a language test when I came here.
You didn't?
No, I did not. Because some of those schools give waiver if your previous education was already taught in English language. I went to university in Nigeria. It was taught in English language of instruction and examination, English language. They'll give you a waiver on this.
Yeah, but not all schools give that waiver.
Not all schools.
But that's something to look out for,
exactly.
Right?
So those are because I had like, when I started the journey, I had like 15,000 naira. Like, where do I didn't need to write GRE. That's why I didn't do it like economics or business administration, because those ones require GRE or GMAT. There's no money where's money for GRE? I didn't write a language test. I had looked for a school that could give me a waiver. And some of this information are online as well. If you go on the university web, those are the things you need to do. Check the admission requirements. Send an email to the admission coordinators. Ask them, I'm a student from Nigeria. Do I need to write language test, or do you consider a waiver on the basis of my previous education being taught in English?
So you can actually reach out.
You can reach out. That's what they are paid for.
Fair enough. And you just mentioned something very interesting. We can't just pass it like that.
Okay.
You said you had 15,000 when you were
I had
going on this immigration journey, because most times people don't even want to start, especially when I have conversations with friends. They're like, I need to gather money first before I even start thinking about, immigration or moving.
Right.
So what gave you the confidence? I'm sorry.
Very good question.
To even start with just 15,000 naira.
What gave me the confidence was the information at my disposal. I've done enough research, checked the University of Saskatchewan, found the tuition. I said, $5,000 thereabout. This is still manageable. Even if I get the admission, I now need to tell my parents. In my research, I also found the International Dean Scholarship at the University of Saskatchewan at that time. Checked the requirements, and I was quite confident I had what it takes to get the scholarship. So what's next? I had to just make sure I presented, well-prepared documents, my resume. Each of these universities also have samples of their resumes online. You want to apply to the University of Toronto, do a Google search of sample resume at the University of Toronto. You see it. You use that to prepare your own. I wrote my statement of intent. I got samples online to gain inspiration, to tell my stories, to present. And that's one good thing about most of these universities in Canada. You don't even need, in most cases, to apply for scholarships separately. They use the same documents they are using to make a decision on your admission, to decide and determine whether there are scholarships they can offer you. Talk to the program coordinators and ask them to put your name forward.
Okay, just to clarify, so what you're saying is, once you apply, you are automatically considered for scholarship.
For a lot of these scholarships. They call them entrance scholarships. So I didn't need to submit any separate application for a scholarship. They gave me an admission. 2 weeks later, a couple of days after I received the admission letter, they told me that they forwarded my name for nomination for the Dean Scholarship.
I can imagine the joy.
And then 2 weeks later, the letter came in that congratulations, you've been awarded Dean Scholarship. I was like,
how did you feel? Like, how was?
I couldn't sleep. Like, I've never seen that much of money in my life at that time. Because when they prorated it for a master's and PhD, it was running to $100 and something thousand. So I was like, somebody wake me up. Like, this is amazing. And it made my journey easier, even in terms of like applying for visa. You understand? So that was what gave me the confidence. I only knew my 15,000 naira was to go and get transcripts. And to pay the application fee. A friend paid the application fee of the second school at Memorial University. He was a student there, and he was like, I want you to come to Newfoundland and all that. And I'm like, Baba, I don't get money. I only have like 15K and I've paid. And exchange rate at that time was, I think, about 135 naira to $1 Canadian. So I paid, I paid $90 application fee. And that took a sizable amount of my 15,000. And I got transcript with like 1,500 thereabout. And that was it. And I was just waiting. So by the time the admission came, 2 weeks later, scholarship came. I was like, this is a done deal. God has done it. Like,
I love it. Some of you need to change your friends.
This is
not the ones that will say, where is the next turn up?
So that was it for me. And that was why I was able to do it. Eventually, when I arrived in Canada, first day in Canada in August, I had just $650 in my pocket. I was going to the University of Saskatchewan. I came in through Toronto Airport, and it was fall around August. Then it was like 15 degrees, and I was coming from 30 degrees from Nigeria, and I still saw people wearing shorts and all that, and I was still like, and then somebody told me, "Oh yeah, you're new in the country," and I'm like, "Yo, yeah, where are you going to?" I said, "Saskatchewan." I said, "Saskatchewan, like." Who goes to Saskatchewan? Like,
is it much colder there?
Oh, of course. Of course.
I was going to say,
Of course. So the weather there was, and he was telling me, it gets to like minus 30. And I'm like, do people live there? And he said, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the colder parts.
If people live there, then let's go there.
Let's go.
You understand? So but the scholarship made a difference for me. My visa application in my settlement in Canada, they were paying us monthly stipend.
Oh, then. Nice.
So monthly. Monthly you can arrange with the school to also pay your tuition fee monthly.
Okay.
If you're on a scholarship,
okay,
they allow you to pay your tuition monthly. So when they pay your stipend, they remove the tuition, the remaining one, you pay rent, you do everything. And it was more than enough back then. I mean, we were not saving money, but you pay your rent, you do bills, phone bill, everything, you're good to go.
I love it. So I really hope this inspires someone out there that's just not sure if they can, take on this new journey. It is possible. Yeah. Olu did it with just 15,000 naira when he was applying. And even when he came, just had $650, which is really not much, but, see him here today. So, thank you for sharing. So, were you working during your master's?
Yeah, that's a very good question. International students in Canada are allowed to work, part-time when the school is in session, full-time when the school is in scheduled break. As a matter of fact, they just increased the hours of work. It used to be 20 hours of work in my own time. From September 2024, it's going to be 24 hours of work when the school is in session, and then you can work full-time when they are scheduled break. So to your question, yes, I was also working. Even though the scholarship I got back then had no service duty. What I meant by that is I don't have to do anything to earn the money. I've already earned it based on the research I was coming to do, my grades, my previous experience, publications, and the like. So every month, I just get a lot. So at some point, I had enough time when I'd done my coursework to also start doing some student jobs. That was like supplementary income to get some money.
Okay. What jobs were they?
So I got a research-related job as a research assistant on campus. I also worked outside campus as well. I worked with a store back then, back-end associates, they call us. Then we monitor delivery of goods and services to the store and all that.
Okay, so nothing too hectic.
No, nothing too hectic.
Okay.
And maybe the work time though, because back then the work I was doing was 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. That was when I was
fair enough.
But my classes were 9 a.m. to 12 noon. So
but that would have been then you sleep during the afternoon.
Oh yeah, I sleep during the afternoon, so I'm not doing anything in the afternoon. Even by 3:30 I'm back home and sleeping. I'll probably sleep from 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's 7 hours of sleep already. And then
it's not too bad.
Go to class. If I have an early morning class, that's when I would have to wake up early. And then also because I was a research-based student, you do your coursework in the first year of the program, and then you start doing your research in the second year. So by the time you start doing research, you're not going to classes again, although you still have to make sure you're keeping to the terms of your visa, which is to work part-time when the school is in session.
That's really good.
If you have scheduled break, then you can work full-time there.
That's really nice. I know I had a semester focused on projects as well during my master's, but we're still having classes, still writing exams and all of that. So you guys should definitely check out the research route because it seems like it has a lot of perks. What are the different ways that people can relocate to Canada?
So if you come into Canada, you're relocating under two broad umbrellas. Either you're coming as a temporary resident, which will be to come as an international student, to come on the work permit if you get the job offer, and most likely an employer that is sponsoring you for that, or you're just visiting Canada as a visitor. Those are under the temporary residency category. And then the second category will be to come to Canada as a permanent resident. In Canada, we have more than 100 immigration pathways. If you go on the Government of Canada website, www.canada.ca/immigration. You see these different pathways. You see questionnaires you can fill to determine which one you may be eligible for. If you're coming as a PR, you're looking at programs like the Express Entry, which is the popular one. In the express entry, we also have what we call the category-based selection right now, which is focusing on certain sectors that they feel or occupations that are of utmost importance to the economy. You're looking at like science, technology, engineering, maths. You're looking at trades job. Trades are like plumbers, carpenters. People will be surprised to find out that even if you're an artisan, I tell people in Canada there's something for everyone. You understand? And then you find things like healthcare, people working as nurses, doctors. But even though the express entry is the most popular permanent residence program in Canada, it's not the only one. There are so many other pathways. There are provincial nominate programs.
Yes.
In Canada, we have 10 provinces and 3 territories. The way I like to put it to people is that those provinces and territories are like mini countries within the larger country called Canada. Ontario is different from Alberta. The things that they want you to have in Ontario is most likely different from what Alberta is looking at. There are some provinces that also favor people that already have family members there.
Yes.
You understand? Like Manitoba, like Saskatchewan. If you have a family, they believe it to help you to settle in, adequately.
Even Ontario,
and reward you for that. You understand? So look at some of those things as well. So the options are limitless. If I check express entry, for instance, and I don't have work experience, then maybe for me, maybe I need to come study here first. Maybe I need to find an employer that is willing to support me and sponsor me for a work permit. We call that the LMIA process, which is Labor Market Impact Assessment.
True. And even for that, I know a number of people that have gotten jobs before they moved to Canada.
Yes.
So, and then the companies help them.
And then they support them in that process.
Yeah.
So many things to do. Be interested. Find what you're eligible for. Look at the financial implication of that as well, because you have to spend money on some things. If you can't spend money on study like I was in that situation in my own time, then you start looking for things like scholarships.
So there are so many different routes that you can come to Canada. If one doesn't work, like Olu said, consider other options because it's very likely that there will be something for you. So with your level of experience, what advice would you give someone that is, back in their home country and they're considering relocating to a new country, moving abroad, but they're just not sure?
I mean, I think for each and every one of us, there was that initial fear and level of doubt when we wanted to move to Canada. It's perfect. I tell people embrace the fear, but don't let it define you. Invest in finding information. Reach out to people online. A lot of people that I don't know reach out to me. They send me.
I was just going to say that if you've made it this far in this podcast and you're not following Olu on social media platforms, what are you doing? Please go and follow him because honestly, he's constantly, I think, daily posts, right, of insights, tips, and you get to know opportunities. I think you even have a link where people can get connected to professionals that would give, legal advice on these things because
on some of those things. And also like the Telegram community we have, you meet a lot of people. It's free. Join the Telegram community. Click the link in my bio on social media. Get into the Telegram community. You can always ask questions with people. I think the reason why a lot of people are also afraid to take that step is that the level of information they have access to is very minimal.
Yes.
So the more information you have, the more confident
100%.
you become to like, okay, I'm armed with that. I tell people there are 3 P's to follow when you're deciding to move here. Number 1 is planning. Have a plan. For your plan B, have another plan B for your plan B. For that other plan, have a plan A, B, and C. You can't ever go wrong. Number 2 is following the due process. Don't let anyone mislead you into thinking you can cut corners or, try to do something shady.
Yeah.
I tell people, CBS, there are some government agencies in Canada, they won't say anything, but they are observing you like a bat. Like, they are just waiting they are building the evidence. Until when they know that if they catch you, you can't sleep off. You understand? And thirdly is being patient. Giving yourself grace. Keeping in mind that you're moving to a new country. You're probably starting some things afresh. You are learning a lot of things. Sometimes it gets overwhelming for people. And that's where community comes in as well. You see people around you, you see the great things they're doing, you are inspired by their own, giant strides and all that, and you are also encouraged to do that. And lastly, staying positive. And also, if you are very established from back home and then you're moving in as a permanent resident to Canada, the good thing also is that you don't have to immediately remain permanently in Canada. You can come and do what we call the soft landing.
Yes.
Come here a couple of months, explore the country, get connected with recruiters and all that. If you decide to go back home, go plan your final arrival.
You don't have to commit.
You don't have to commit fully. And as a matter of fact, once you land, you get your PR card is valid for 5 years. All you have to do is that make sure you accumulate 2 years within that 5 years to be able to renew that PR card. It doesn't have to be 2 years at a stretch.
Okay.
6 months today, 4 months tomorrow. Within 5 years, you accumulate 24 months, 2 years, you're eligible to renew the PR card. And it's just like renewing your driver's license. You are not applying for PR all over again.
That's amazing.
And if you are able to also accumulate 3 years, then you become eligible to apply for citizenship.
Yes.
So Canada has made that really flexible.
So easy.
There are newcomer resources for new permanent residents in the country. They connect you with like recruiters, they help you do your resume. It's free, funded by the government of Canada.
Wow. Okay.
So take advantage of some of those things.
Thank you. I feel like that would be very helpful to someone out there. So, you have such a large community. I mean, almost 500,000 people. That is huge. And
I feel like it's
for someone that, no, in fact, we have a celebrity in our midst. Please put some respect on Young and Abroad. And yeah, so honored to have you here. And just wondering how you're able to build that community, because I'm guessing you started building that community when you arrived in Canada. So it's not something that you've been doing for many years.
No.
So how are you able to build this community so quickly? This will be helpful for people like me that are trying to, grow community as well. So, yeah.
The one thing I tell people when I get this question is, in consistency lies progress. In consistency lies progress.
Okay.
Yeah. Inside consistency is where you find progress.
Okay.
I tell people that an individual who is committed to achieving success must learn and understand the principle that great achievements are aggregated small achievements. A very big achievement, you see it today, big achievements, there's a lot of like tiny bits of effort here and there.
100%, yes.
And one of the things that sustain those small achievements coming together to become big achievements is consistency. You understand?
A word.
You have to be consistent about it. This community, when I came in 2015, I was always throwing information here and there.
Okay.
But the COVID came in 2020 and we had, some time on our hands.
Yeah.
And I told myself, I want to be intentional about this thing. Started putting out information consistently on a daily basis. Read, summarize, blog, put information, and then the community started growing. And from one person, it became 10. From 10, it became 100. From 100, it became thousands. From 1,000, it became hundreds of thousands. You understand?
Yeah.
To the extent that, when you tell people, and you say, oh, do you know Olu of Canada? I say, oh, yeah, I'm a member of his community.
Okay.
Those are people I may not even get to meet from more than 50 countries across the world in our community.
Yeah, you mentioned something like just within a few hours in any city in Canada, you will get recognized.
I know you somewhere. Oh, these are my family members. And then people also see the genuineness and the sincerity in the things we do. They know when I tell you something, it's not because I intend to get something from them. And they've also found comfort in seeing the evidence of the work we do. They see people in the community joining 3 months ago asking, how do I get started? And people are saying, go and read the pinned message. And 3 months later, the same person that was so confused is now saying, I just got an admission. I just got
even guiding other people.
And then guiding other people. You understand? So that's what we've been able to do. And we're grateful to God. Shout out again to all the members of our community. We are here because they are there. And they are there to also support other people and pass it forward. When people ask me, how do I pay you for this information and all, I say, just pass it forward to other people and support them as well. Yeah.
That is amazing. That is so inspiring. just is clear that, what you're building is to help people, and you're not just trying to, make money off them.
Mhm.
Your community, I think your Telegram is free. Access to
It's free.
Telegram is
It's
free.
free. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely
amazing.
free.
Okay, guys, we are moving over to our icebreaker session, and this is where we just get to know a bit more about our guest. So I have some interesting questions for you. Are you ready?
Okay, let's have it.
Okay, so first, tell us 3 things about yourself that most people don't know.
3
You can
things
take your
that
time.
people don't know. People don't know. 1, I don't like school. I like excellence. I tell people that.
Okay.
Those are 2 different things. I don't like school,
Really?
but I like
Okay.
excellence. And what I mean by that is that I think it's what they call the excellence mindset of
Mhm.
like wherever you find yourself, you do your best, you put in the best
Okay,
possible
100%.
to get the best out of it. That's how I've been
relate to
able
that,
to do
yeah.
well in school, because I'm like, if I find myself within the 4 walls of the university, I must put in my absolute best to get the best out of it. But left to me, I don't like school. My mom can testify to that.
Oh, wow.
Even when I was a kid and all, and a lot of people don't see that coming. I also remind myself that whatever opportunity God has given to me, whatever stage I find myself in life, God did not bring me that far to be mediocre. So I want to put in my best and just get. So that's why I said I like excellence and get the best out of it. That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, I also think I'm an introvert. I don't think I'm an extrovert. That may be surprising to a lot of people. I think I've been able to build my public confidence right now through the things I've done over the years. But left to me, I just want to be that behind the scene, quiet kind of person. But I mean, I can't avoid being a public facing person anymore.
That's so interesting.
So that will be the second. Third, I like power naps. So power naps, I can sleep for seasons. Tell me if there's a sleeping competition, I win. but I like power naps because even in the midst of chaos and storm, if I can just get 15 minutes of sleep, I'm good to go.
Better.
No matter the situation that's going on, they said we're trying to solve a problem and we've been thinking for 24 hours, no headway and all that. Just give me 15 minutes. Can I get 15 minutes just to sleep? And if I can get that,
recharge,
I wake up re-energized with brighter ideas, and that has worked for me.
That's really good. I used to take power naps, but I found myself struggling to do them because my naps become full sleep. I'm like, let me just close my eyes for 15 minutes, and then the
following day,
and so then I open my eyes and it's already dark, and I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
Or I snooze the alarm. I'm like, okay, let me do 30 more minutes. But power naps definitely do help sometimes, or just even going away from the thing, like stepping away for a few minutes and coming back to it. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for coming on this episode and launching this podcast with us. I think that's everything. You can find us on all podcast platforms, Young and Abroad. And to connect with me and also to see the video version of this podcast, you would find it on Everything Eniola on both Instagram and YouTube. So be sure to subscribe and also leave a review on, the podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, like I said earlier, make sure to also connect with our guest, Olu, on all social media platforms. He's Olu of Canada, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, the handle is Olu Family.
Okay. And I'm going to put the link in the description as well, so you guys can just click the link and follow, connect. And thank you so much for sticking through with us till the end. Thank you, Olu.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hopefully, would you be back?
Definitely.
Okay.
Anytime you invite us, we'll be back.
Love it. Okay, I'm going to hold you on that. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.